Okay. All right. So I guess we'll just kind of do a little small intro. Um,
Yep.
hello everyone, and I hope you're all doing well. My name is Tanner Dagenais, and we're going to be doing this huge seminar, self-sabotage seminar. We're going to be talking about different topics. We're going to have different coaches on to share their experiences, and then we'll all kind of pitch in and talk about our own experiences with each of the subjects. So it's very going to be very exciting. And then we'll also have two different parts of this where we have different coaches, and then a third part where we're going to actually have the solutions. So keep an eye out. There's going to be three different videos to be watching, and I'm very excited to be able to share this information with you guys because it's going to be very powerful, life changing information. So today we got Nathan Francis and Bryce Cluett here on the line. Thank you guys so much for coming on. You guys want to? I don't know who wants to take it first.
You can go, Bryce, if you like.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me here. Bryce Cluett, living in Canada, trying to help men change the world. And, basically what I'm seeing in a nutshell is, the planet is wounded, and really seeing that if men can take the power back, I think that's a huge portion to resolving that issue. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just keep spreading that great vibe of helping men step up and become leaders.
Yeah, that's so important.
I'm Nathan Francis. I'm a 28-year-old male from Australia. I'm 2 hours north of Melbourne in Victoria, which has been hit pretty hard lately with the COVID stuff and also the weather as well. So we're copping the full brunt of the whole agenda, as they say. And I'm just here to inspire and help as many young people and people in general as possible, because this information is so valuable and so powerful. You can see why it gets censored and all that sort of stuff. So the more content we can pump out there, the more people we can inspire, the better our planet will be going into the future. So I'm very grateful to be here. So I'm also very grateful to meet you two throughout the Jason Christoph coaching program. It's completely changed my life. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's so awesome, man. So excited to have you guys both on. Now, Bryce, you want to kind of just dive in and we'll go into like the attack on the male and like what you're seeing and kind of we'll go into there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's something that in my own life, I sort of, I wanted to combat that and overcome complacency and just kind of, going with the flow. And I'm seeing a huge thing happening right now with men where they're just distracted. And that's the first part. That's the sort of, I guess, the soft way to talk about it, right? They're just distracted, right? They're eating fast food, and they're doing what the people around them are doing, and they're watching their sports for 3 hours a day and drinking the alcohol, not really eating well. And then we can get into the sort of more sinister approach that we're both aware of for sure, where there's marketing in place to make that happen. And there's lots of shows and movies that we watch that just have those negative themes in them constantly. So in my journey and in my actual coaching, that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just make people aware that stuff is happening. When you're subjected to it daily, you're gonna follow that, right? And we know that, and that's how the mind works. And the people who are in charge of, whether you just want to call it marketing, or if there is a bigger agenda at play, which I believe there is, they know how the mind works, and they know how people react, the human psyche, and we see it day in and day out. We see men going around, what I say, without any purpose. And recently had even just a younger guy that I was talking to, who's 21 years old, and he was vaping. And I just look at it, and from psychology, I'm like, why are you vaping? Like, why are you doing that? Right? Like, I literally said, why are you doing that? He couldn't give me an answer. Like, he couldn't tell me why. Right? So, and that's where I just, further it and say, no judgment, but like, that's what I'm doing in my business, is making people aware that you're doing those things without thinking about it. And then he mentioned something about his girlfriend. And I said, I'm going to take a stab and say, your girlfriend vapes too. And he's like, yeah, she does, and so it's when you start to uncover that and you start to interrupt that process, that's when you can start to sort of lead your life with more purpose and basically get more out of life, right? We see people going around, and depression is a big thing in males right now. And that's what I see it. I see it as not having purpose, and then they're being depressed because they're looking around and they're seeing what other people are doing, and they're feeling bad about their own life, instead of just, getting rid of the distractions and starting to formulate a plan, just to work on daily, right? We always say it in our sort of circles. It's not about perfection. It's just about progress. So, that's kind of where I'm coming from, is it gets me a little bit fired up when I start to talk about it, right? And I think that's the way we're supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be fired up and try to get those men out there, whether they're 20 years old or even in their late 50s. It's never too late to start living with more purpose from day to day.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know I was depressed for a long time because I didn't have a purpose. And, I felt like I was a failure because I didn't have a job with my college degree, and I was in debt and all this stuff. So I definitely understand that. Nathan, how did you, like, do you have any input on this, or did you feel kind
Oh,
of the
I
same
was
way?
exactly the same as you, Tony. Yeah, I was the same. Like, I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I didn't feel like I had a reason to be here. And as soon as I found that reason and that purpose, it's like I'm not moving from that path. Like, once I found out and remembered who it is that I was, that I'm a sovereign human being, I ain't veering. It's so powerful.
Yep. And even another, like, another sort of term that I came across recently was nihilism. And it's, I started doing some research on it. I love learning new words and stuff. And I was like, well, what does that mean? It means like living with no purpose, that life has no meaning. And when I started to do some research on it, it's one of those terms that gets pushed into our society, and it's an agenda. It's an agenda term. It's pushed out there to tell people, like, don't believe in anything, right? Life has no purpose, right? Um, whether it's, people having faith or believing in something bigger than them or spiritual. We have a lot of men out there that just don't care to believe in anything bigger than them, right? They're like, oh, there's no God, or there's no creator, and life has no meaning. And so I just thought that term was really interesting, right? So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I feel like that's so common. Like, people are just going day to day, like they think life is just like working all day, going home, drinking, binge watching Netflix, smoking, whatever their choice of, like, getting high is, and then going to bed and starting it all over again, and then just holding out to the weekend. I just got to make it to that weekend, and then oh man, the weekend's here, but it's too short, and then I got to start all over
Oh,
again.
then Monday comes and they're
Week
like,
after
oh
week
no,
after
here we
week.
go. No, it's Monday again. It's
Yeah.
what you said there, Bryce. You said they don't care. You're spot on. You can show them the information, you can show them this and show them that, and at the end of the day, they just don't care because they're so stuck in that cycle. It's so true. I'm seeing it where I am too, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to break out of it. So, I think part of it is to do what we're doing, is to, get a little uncomfortable and start to talk about it, put ourselves out there, and, try to do our strength workouts and try to do things where it's a little tough, and let people know that, you're not alone. We're all in this together, where we can really help each other. And that's kind of what we're doing today, right? To get on here and just chat from all around the world. And we're all in different sections. And I love that. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're all
so
in this together, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Careful using that line, mate.
Yeah, exactly. We'll use it for good.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. So it's so important to bounce those ideas off people, because I feel like, nowadays, like, you bring up something like this and people get like defensive and attack you.
Yeah.
And like open discussion now is just kind of like looked down upon. Actual open up, like, people like don't want to share their opinions because they're going to get censored, or they're going to get called a racist, or they're going to called a someone who has toxic masculinity, right? Like how
Mhm.
common is that?
Yep.
So what
Mm.
I'm curious, Bryce, what's your opinion on toxic masculinity, that phrase?
I mean, it's a clear agenda thing, right? It's pushed out there to sort of demonize the male and to make somebody who wants to either be fit or who wants to be a leader, who wants to take sort of the role of being the leader um, as a bad thing, right? I think that's what it is. It's obviously there could be some truth to somebody being toxic, right? As a masculine male, abusive or something like that. That's obviously toxic. But I think those terms, we know those terms are put out there just to be able to coin somebody as being a toxic masculine man. So I just throw it to the side, and yeah, I just don't look at it as being something that's a term that we need to use. It's almost like it's on the outskirts. It's like this weird.
Yeah.
I don't subscribe to that, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so yeah, we just want to lead by example. And we're here to, people want to join our sort of tribe, what we're doing. We welcome everybody, but we're not going to demonize somebody for not understanding why they're living day to day with no purpose. We're just going to show you why you're doing it. We'll show you, break down the movies you're watching every day when you come home and see the themes in there. And then we'll tell them, right? Like, if you were subjected to this, 5 days a week, do you think, if you were subjected to something positive 5 days a week, do you think maybe you might end up coming out positive? Most likely you would, right? So yeah, the power of the subconscious is amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's so important to understand the subconscious mind. Like really like understanding the subconscious mind is like a crucial part of overcoming self-sabotage, because if you don't really understand why it's happening, or how to use your subconscious mind to like reprogram it, or to I guess counteract the self-sabotage, like then you're really just going to be fighting against like a 100-pound gorilla, as Jason would call it, or like a supercomputer, like it's this the processing power of the subconscious mind to the conscious mind is just vastly different. And understanding how you work with it is just so crucial. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're gonna, as soon as you start to understand the negative stuff that's coming at you, it's really just to replace it with the positive stuff, right? It seems simple. Just remove the negative stuff slowly. Obviously, somebody's not going to be able to do it all overnight, but slowly remove it, right? You guys probably don't watch a lot of TV, right? You probably, you're probably reading some affirmations. I always love seeing the I am enough thing, right? We can't have that stuff. We can't see it enough, right? We want to always be subjecting ourselves to that. So, and that's really what it is just removing those negative influences and replacing them with some positive ones. And then hopefully you'll start to fall in line with the positive tribe, right?
Exactly. Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information about the masculine. Well, I'll be happy to go into some of those solutions here on our next talk. Nathan, do you want to kind of go into what you were going to talk about today?
Yeah, I was just going to talk about negative thoughts and just a bit of like why people drink and smoke and casual sex, bit like the toxic masculinity as well, but sort of like a broad for males and for females. A lot of it's got to do with our childhood. Our subconscious programming starts in the womb, even sometimes in past lives, which we can talk about another time, but starts in the womb in this current form. And we pick up a lot of our subconscious programming from our parents from the ages 0 to 7, because we're in that theta state from, I think it's 1 to 7. And that's all our programming. So if we see our parents drinking coffee, we see our parents drinking alcohol, we see our parents smoking marijuana, which is pretty big over where you guys are in North America. Any other sedative chemical that we see our parents drinking, we're pack animals too, as Jason says, and we're going to copy, mirror, and mimic those things in our lives. And sometimes we're going to pick up 1 or 2 of those things and then do more. We could pick up the coffee, then we'll do the alcohol and the drugs and the casual sex and the gambling and all the other stuff. It at the end of the day, it is literally, we're just trying to bond with our parent again. And the way we bond with our parent is what we've seen as a child. And as a child, all we wanted was to bond with our parent or parents. And that's why we do it. And yeah, and that's pretty much it there, and just in a little nutshell. But I see it all the time. I just see a lot of people out there are doing the things that they're doing and they don't realize why or how. But as soon as you give them that little nudge or that little word, it sparks them in action. They go, oh, that's why I do it. And I have those conversations with people all the time. You just give them that one little word and that little takeaway and they go, oh, that's why I do it.
Yeah.
And it's all about learning, and all this information has been suppressed, and it's been suppressed for this reason, because those that rule us know that, and that's why it's all there readily available. Because if it wasn't, that's our power, and our power is so powerful that we can literally change the world in a day.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Yeah, and this information is definitely suppressed because and I feel like in a real in a world where they actually want us to succeed and be our best, we taught this information about the subconscious mind when we're like elementary school or middle school or early high school at least, because how can you go through school without understanding a vital part of your mind and the way your brain functions?
Exactly.
We learn so much through our subconscious mind and create all these programs that drive our daily actions, and yet most people go through their whole life never knowing anything about the subconscious mind. Even people who go through psychology classes don't really know this information, and it's so vital that we know it, because it can literally flip our life around in an instant, like you were talking about. Obviously sometimes you have to reprogram yourself, and that might take a little bit of time, but just knowing the information can just give you a huge advantage over what you used to have.
Yeah. And it helps you remember who you are. It helps us remember that we are humans, we are sovereign beings, and we are very, very powerful. And we've been drowned in poisons and chemicals for too long. And I feel and I believe that the time of these sedative chemicals is up. It's the next step now, and it's time to allow in the new, because the old's finished. And that's the evil force on this planet.
Yeah, I agree with that. And just to touch on your point too, Nathan, safe, right? Safe is familiar, and familiar could be chaos. Yep. You grow up in that environment, and people will see that. I'll see posts by different women who are like, oh, I keep finding the same guys, and oh, I hate men, and just the same. And it's so easy. As soon as you see those couple pieces of language, right away, we know. For her to switch her mindset, switch herself in her talk, and just start being more positive about her life and about what she wants out of life, instead of always searching to the external, right? Always saying, oh, I need this man to come by. It's well, do you love yourself?
Exactly.
And probably not, right? So another point too that I was just thinking about what Tanner said was, I've been doing a little bit of research on China and stuff, because I've been looking into the masculine stuff and the feminine, and realize that in China, they literally outlaw any sort of femininity in men. So on their TVs and stuff, they don't even have anything on TV that would depict a feminine male. Whereas here we're doing quite the opposite, right?
Yeah, we're North America.
I mean, every commercial is, I do put that stuff on sometimes because I want to see what's going on. And as I'm seeing it, it's it's hilarious, right? Because it's wow, they just constantly put these people in these positions on TV, whether it's commercials or just characters, even in Disney shows and stuff like that, just to push that opinion, push that sort of that mode, right? But yeah, I thought that was interesting in China. And something that I did see recently too that I wanted to look into was TikTok. That they have
I've done a blog on that.
They have a different version in China, don't they? They have one that's more informational, science experiment based for the kids, time limits on it, stuff like that. But the one that they put out for us to have is, complete chaos.
Yeah, literally.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Yeah, I feel like there's so much of the social media is weaponized against us, but the awesome thing is that we can use that social media to our advantage and
Yeah.
kind of fight back. And that's kind of exactly what we're doing.
You brought up an interesting point though, Bryce. You mentioned Disney there. Well, who's the target really? They're really targeting the kids, aren't they?
100%.
Because this current crop of children are very, very powerful, very, very powerful, and they're doing everything they can to dumb them down.
Yep. 100%. I agree with that.
You see that, and then they have like the Common Core math nowadays, which is like the version of math that's like even harder to understand, and like it's lowering people's like it's just like they're attacking from all angles. And I mean, once I started like kind of awaken to everything, I realized that was like from all angles. It's not only just like the TV, it's not only just the food, it's the medical system, it's history, it's like everything that they're just
it's
like
everything.
They're all attacking us from all angles.
Everything we know to be true is a lie. Once you realize that and understand that, you can then change. But everything you know to be true is a lie. And I mean everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that that's a good starting point for a lot of people, just to say, okay, I don't know everything, and I'm going to just start with a clean slate and say that I'm going to start to find out stuff about myself. For me, like, went through the public school system. I mean, that's where it stems, right? That's where it's a toxic system that's meant to push out slaves. It's really what it is, right?
Literally.
And it only takes a couple, great books to read on it. I think it's the John Taylor Gatto one on weapons of mass instruction. That book is a great one that just shows what it was designed for, and it's still being used for that. Now we just interject those, you don't have to be a male now. You can be whatever you want, right? And that's an attack. That's just a complete attack on what we're here as humans, as man and woman.
Yep.
And that's just a complete attack, is what I think.
Well, we're creative beings. We love to create. We've been robbed of our time. We've been robbed of our money, but mainly our time through this system. If we had time, we'd be able to create things and create the life that we want to create. But because some people, and we are slaves to that system, you're getting robbed of your time. So all you're doing is coming home, putting on Netflix, having a junk food, a cup of coffee or a beer or something, and then going to bed and then starting again. People don't even live at home anymore. Like, the kids are in daycare. They're at their, we call it daycare here. They're at their childcare. The parents are both at work. The home is free. No one's in their home.
Yep, I agree with that. And the kid thing is, people will say like, oh, I don't have time, or that's a common theme that people say, and they just convince themselves their subconscious.
But they have time to finish. They have time to finish work and watch a Netflix movie and then go to bed though. So how could they spend those 2 hours?
Yeah. So crazy, right? And that's the kind of stuff we tell ourselves. And that's why, like, if somebody can break down what they do in the run of a day and just put them in you have an A and a B. Yep. This is one habit. Is it a positive or is it a negative? Just write them down and just look at them. Right. Yep. There you go. We just solved everything.
We did a plus, minus, and interesting at school. Those PMIs, right? You have a plus, a minus, and an interesting. Well, why don't people do one of those, create one of those for their lives? What's something I'm doing that's positive? What's something I'm doing that's negative? What's something I'm doing that's interesting?
There you go.
I don't think many people will be able to fill the interesting column.
No, just to do it. Just do a 24-hour chart and see where you're at, right?
I agree.
That's great.
Love that.
Yeah, being conscious of what actions we're taking is so important. Like that's a big part of overcoming self-sabotage, because if we're just blindly going through our life, and I think a lot of people also just don't have any direction for their life. Like they know they want to be wealthy or something, but they don't really know like actually what they want in life, right? So they're just blindly going towards some direction.
Some people do, but some people do. Some people have dreams. Some people have dreams of what they want to do, but they're stuck.
Yeah,
true. I'm working with someone at the moment who will probably watch this, but I'm going to use her as an example. She's a little bit stuck. She has so many dreams and so many things that she wants to do. I'm like, there's a business idea. There's a business idea. She has about 7 of them. I'm like, go and start that, mate. Come on.
Yeah, pick one.
Yep.
Yeah,
know,
pick one and
it's
focus on it, and
it's
then
nice.
put them all together.
Yep. I think it's great to have more than one thing, but if somebody feels stuck, that's probably why, right? Because they're I call it in motion. And so you're in motion where you have these ideas and you've got all these great ideas, but you're not in action. You're not doing anything. Right. So just whittle it down to 3 out of the 7.
Yep.
Just focus on that. Don't worry about the 7. Focus on the 3 and see where that takes you, right? And we know the power of that. Yeah, it's fear. And we know the power of just, 1% a day towards something over the course of 365 days is huge, right? Just 1% more a day on trying to eat better.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden a year has gone by and look at you, right? Now now you can call yourself a healthy eater now.
Yeah. I agree. Just focus on one thing.
Yep.
And that first thing's always the hardest. Like Tanner and I were talking about it the other day. Like that first thing's always the hardest, but it gets easier from there.
Yeah.
It actually does. We've lived it.
And trying to make all those changes at once can really actually cause more self-sabotage because your subconscious mind's like, whoa, where are we going? We are part of the unhealthy eating tribe. We like to stay up late. We like to drink alcohol. We like to watch Netflix. And now we're not doing any of those things. Okay, we got to change something to go back to
Mine
what
literally
we were at.
did that. Tanner, we spoke about the other day. That was literally me. As soon as I found out all this information, I just made all these big changes. My body just couldn't handle it. Or my mind for a start. So
yeah, just little things, right? And I mean, I mentioned that in my story was it was literally alcohol, coffee, and weed all in the same day I stopped. And
there you go.
When I look back, I was a bit mad at myself because I was like, I don't know like where I'm getting all this clarity from. Is it from stopping the coffee? Is it like, I wish I would have done it one at a time. But for me at the time, that was like it was a breaking point, right? It was like, I was more excited about what's going to happen on the other side. Like what could happen if I do this? Like, so I think people just, getting people excited about it is part of it too, right? Getting them excited about, like I've seen Tanner say it before, you don't have one life to live. You're living your life every day, right?
Yes.
Every day.
You only live once.
Yeah, you only live once. Yeah.
No,
that's another agenda term, right?
You live every day.
Yeah. Every day. Get up and have that glass of water first thing in the morning.
Yep.
I mean, start with that.
Brush your teeth first, though.
Rinse your mouth out at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The actions you take determine the quality and length of your life. And most people are thinking out there, YOLO, I only live once. I'm gonna destroy my body and take all the actions that are just gonna leave me with nothing to like show for it.
Yeah. I know we did that. I know we did that Power of Words podcast the other day, Tanner, but we could have put that in there. They actually literally are saying that during the week that they can't wait to destroy themselves on the weekend. They can't, like, I've eaten all this healthy food. I've done all these awesome things, but this Saturday I'm going to punish myself. They say that. Like, look what they're manifesting. Wish I'd have said that last Sunday, mate. But anyway.
People like when you actually listen to like what they're saying when they're talking about drinking or smoking, they're like, oh, I'm gonna get so stoned. I'm gonna get like whacked out of my mind. I'm gonna get like,
but they can't wait.
Why would you want to do that to yourself? And it's because a lot of people don't like their life they're living in. They want to escape from it. They're using it as like a solution to their shitty life.
Or it's safe.
Yeah, on quotes, because obviously it's not a real solution. It's just like it's like a band-aid. It's like a lot of these like prescription drugs, right? They don't actually address like the actual root cause of the problem. They're just used to suppress and
like an escapism, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Spot on, brother.
And that's where I think the subconscious part comes into play, where people literally don't know that they're saying that. They don't know that they're escaping. They just know that that's what the people around them are doing. They all go to the club on Friday night and get blackout drunk. And they don't consciously know that that's not really what their body wants. They're trying to get out of what they're in, get out of their life. Right.
Yep. I agree.
And another thing that I find really funny too, is I'll see friends that go on vacation. So I'll see pictures of them throughout the week and then drink it on the weekends and
Yeah.
and then I'll see them on vacation and they're doing the exact same
That
thing.
same thing.
So you
It's
just
one big
spent,
pub crawl.
yeah, you just spent $1,000 to go to the beach and you're blackout drunk every night you're there and you barely remember your trip, right?
Yep.
It's strange. So you really just paid to go somewhere else expensive to do the same thing you do every weekend. So it's kind of weird. If somebody was to go on a vacation and treat it as like a retreat of just like, no, I'm going to stay off my social media a bit. I'm going to just try to, not drink alcohol and just take in the environment, walk in the sand, eat. Yeah. Just fast a bit. I mean, can you imagine how good they would feel? Right.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah. I feel yeah, most people come back. I know I used to this happen to me all the time when I used to go on vacation. I would just go out and just party all the time. And then I come back from vacation. I'd be like, I need like a vacation from my vacation now. Like I need like a couple of days off before I go back to work just to recover.
Speaking my
I
language.
actually usually plan for that where I'd have a couple of days so I could recover afterwards. It's like thinking back now, it's just like, what was I doing? That's not a vacation.
Yeah.
Like,
I went overseas for 6 weeks, did the exact same thing. I did 6 weeks of partying. I went to America and England and Europe and all that. I'm like thinking back, gee, I wish I was going there now as I am. I'd appreciate it so much more.
Yeah, your consciousness would probably even expand more, right? Because you'd be taking in like the architecture and just taking in everything, not just like thinking about going and drinking. And people don't realize, yeah, to go and even to go out and go out with your friends, but not drink. What a concept, right? Just to go out, still have fun, maybe you're out a bit later than you should be, right? But to not poison your body and your mind, just to take it all in and just enjoy the conversation or, enjoy that connection that we have when we're talking like we are now. Like, I don't know. It's my mind has definitely shifted from the way it used to be when I started learning about subconscious.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going through that at the moment. There's a few boys that I'm playing some sport with at the moment, and they're asking me to go out with them and all that stuff. I'm just saying no, but interesting that you bring that up. I'm just resonating with it. Something I might have to start doing, I think.
Yeah, like and even it's one of those things where you're gonna lead then, right? You're gonna be like, I'm proud of who I am. I'm the guy who goes out now and chats, and we don't have to drink 6 or 7 beer to have a good time, right? We can just connect and And so I think that's another new concept that we can do.
I've been sitting through it the last few days, and it's interesting that every time I have a chat with someone, I just bring up something that I'm currently shifting. It's just I love this stuff. I really do.
Yeah. That self-awareness is key. It's so important. So yeah, I'm going to talk about a little bit what I was here to talk about today, and that's I'm going to talk about really the power of words. I know I've talked about it a couple of times now.
You and I have too.
It's so important. And the reason why it's so important is because really the words and like the thoughts that we have create like blueprints for our life and the actions we're going to take. And our subconscious mind is always listening. So our conscious mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about doing like the different parts of the mind, because the conscious mind, is our part that's logical. It has our dreams, our goals, our aspirations in it. It's the critical thinking part of our mind, and it goes about 40 pieces of information per second, while our subconscious part of our mind is much more like a recorder. It doesn't have our dreams and our goals in there. It just has other people's, I guess, like information, data, things they say, things that we see. So it's constantly recording, and it's doing that at 11 million pieces of information per second. And what it's doing when it's gathering all this data is it's trying to determine what is the safest card to play. So you can kind of imagine there's like a piece of paper, and every time it sees something, it's matching it together. It's like, oh, these person's drinking coffee, this person's drinking coffee. Look, there's a whole lineup of people drinking coffee. That's becoming safer and safer, and it's essentially creating a little safe card. And what you can think of is like a Uno, like you play the safe card when you're gonna be safe. Everyone around you is gonna accept you, and so you play the safe card, to fit in and to be safe. And it's something that we did when we were kids, and so many of us continue to do that when we're adults. And the thing is, when we become adults, being safe just doesn't cut it anymore. Being safe and somewhat important, but doesn't mean that we're going to be healthy. It doesn't mean that we're going to be successful. It doesn't mean that we're going to enjoy our life. And that's really really important, because so many people are just living there trying to be as safe as possible, trying to please everyone, be the perpetual people pleaser. Um, and a lot of this does come from the words that we hear from other people and the words we hear from ourselves. So, the subconscious mind is always listening to the things that we're saying and to the things that other people are saying. So, it's so important that you understand, just how powerful our words are, because really, what are words? Words are energy. Words are energy that are manifested from within us, that we create this energy, and they have meaning behind them. They have vibration, they have frequency, and they affect us on so many levels. And it's been proven through quantum physics. A great, amazing man named Bruce Lipton. I've read a couple of his books where he talks about, they figured out that below an atom, what creates an atom up is there's three different particles. It doesn't really matter what their names are, but what you need to know about these particles is that they are just energy vortexes. So what you can take away from that is that everything is made up of atoms, right? But everything's really made up of just energy. And so what you need to know is that the words that we're speaking, that I'm speaking right now, is the same thing that's made up out of you and I. So when we speak something, we're literally creating it, manifesting it into existence. So you need to be careful with the words that you're speaking. Because if you are always telling yourself negative things, if you are always beating down on yourself, abusing yourself, telling yourself you don't like something, it's gonna have a very negative effect on your life. And I got some story to talk to you guys about that. Um, but we'll let these other guys talk here in case they want to input anything real quick.
Oh, spot on, mate. I love Bruce Lipton too. If anyone out there wants to start learning about the subconscious mind, I highly recommend this.
Oh yeah,
Bruce Lipton's awesome. He's got a lot of YouTube videos too. You don't have to just read; you can watch too.
mm-hmm.
Some of his little shorts on YouTube that go for about 2 or 3 minutes that you shared the other week, Tanner. Like, yeah,
I've learned so much about the subconscious mind from him.
I've ordered his book too that you gave me the recommendation for the other day.
Yeah, the honeymoon effect, how
Yeah.
to create a heaven on earth is what it's called by Bruce Lipton, and it's a really good one. It's the one that talks about energy, vibrations, and words, and the different quantum physics. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely check that out.
Yeah, I like it, and I think he's great. Another cool concept that I learned about was just how like the future hasn't been created.
Yep.
So people, I talk about that where people, they're living in the past or they're living in the future.
Mm-hmm.
People who are always like, oh, when I retire, I'll have so much time to do that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or, they're talking about the past. Oh, I remember when I used to do this. And if people can just live in the present right away, you're already ahead, right? But if the future isn't created, we create it by our thoughts.
Yep.
Right. And the power of that is it's so empowering. Like, so yeah, I definitely encourage people to look into Bruce as well, and to look into that concept of being like, wow, like I go around all the time and I say I'm not lucky, and I'm not lucky. So I keep saying I'm not lucky. Oh, I would never win that. I'm not lucky. What if you just change that? Like nothing else. You don't have to give up your Netflix or anything right now. Just when you go to say that, just stop it, or even say it after. So if I said, I'll never win, I'm not lucky. Actually, that's not true. I am quite lucky. I'm lucky to be alive, right? I'm lucky to be waking up every day.
Yep.
And just start to change those little word things, and interrupt yourself when you do it. I mean, it's so powerful. It's so easy to do, right? Right.
Oh, yeah.
Being aware of what you're saying is so important.
Yeah.
That's why we are conscious individuals. What we're going to say.
No, I was just going to say, you could say I'm lucky, or you could say I am grateful.
Yep.
Like express gratitude.
Yep.
So important.
Yeah. I express gratitude everywhere I go. Like, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful in this present moment. There you go. I am grateful to be in this present moment.
Yep.
So that's yourself.
I'm grateful as well. I'm grateful to be here as well.
I'm so grateful.
There
we
go, boys.
The power of words is so important. And yeah, I completely agree with like just being present with your words, because a lot of people do go for affirmations and they go about, in the future I will be, in the future I am.
Yeah.
But you got to stick with the present, because you're telling yourself these things in the now. And what's a second away from now? It's now, right? If you always tell yourself, what's like, and tomorrow I'll do this, or tomorrow I'll do that. Well, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's always a day away. because when it comes to
Mm.
tomorrow, it's now today, and tomorrow is the next day, right? So tomorrow is always a day-to-day way. Today, you want to focus on today and the now, and you're going to miss out on so much if you're just focusing on like the past, the present.
Yep.
But I think there is some things to learn from the past. For instance, there's the story I have
Here we go.
where I had some major self sabotage with speaking, and it was really with a job when I worked at Empower Retirement for a 401k where we help people with their retirement accounts. And it was a call center job. It's the first time I ever worked at a call center job. And I was really nervous about getting on the phones, and I would literally tell myself I didn't want to get on the phones. And I started getting this major pit in my stomach. And I carried on that job for about 6 months, but the whole time I was telling myself I didn't like it, I didn't want to do it. Every time I'd go to work, I'd have this horrible pit in my stomach, and that pit in my stomach ended up turning more into more and more, and started getting worse and worse. I started getting like a depression. I started getting like really upset when I got home from work, and my wife would try to talk to me. And I started noticing it was taking a big effect on me. And then one day, it just kind of snapped. And I didn't tell anyone I was going to do this. I didn't talk to my wife. I didn't talk to my family. I just wrote a letter to my boss and quit that day. Because I just couldn't take it anymore. And I've never done that before the job. And I was kind of embarrassed because I was like, I didn't even talk to my wife. And she got home and she's like, "You did what?" I was just like, "Well, I understand why, but like I would have liked to know, beforehand." I was just like, I just couldn't take it anymore. And I was like attacking myself for feeling this way. And I was like trying to suppress it and hold on to it for so long because I knew I needed to work and all this stuff. But looking back on it now, I know just how much I actually sabotaged myself because I'm working in a job that's somewhat similar now at Wells Fargo at a call center where I just help bankers and things like that. And I don't have that pit in my stomach anymore. I take calls very easily throughout the day. And really, all that's changed is just my perspective and my mindset on things and the words that I was telling myself. So now instead of telling myself, I don't want to do this, I hate this, I'm scared to do this, I'm going to mess up. I just tell myself, I'm going to be great. Things are going to go well. It's going to be a good day. And sure enough, it is. And it's so easy. And I don't feel sick anymore. I don't, and the same thing used to happen all the time with public speaking as well. Or tell myself I was bad public speaking. I'd go up in front of the school in the class and I'd be shaking and sweating and stuttering. And now look at me, I'm able to speak fluently and talk, confidently in front of other people. And really, I owe a lot of that just to changing my mindset, changing the thoughts I was speaking, and being aware of what I was actually saying to myself.
That's
Wow,
great.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story, and when you hear those firsthand experiences, you have to connect with it, right, and understand that the power is within you, right? It's not like you had to go out and read a bunch of self-help books on how to speak, or you always had that power there to do it. It was just how you were viewing it, right?
Exactly.
It's how you were building it up. So if it works that way, if it can make you almost like disease ridden inside, where you're just like, I got to get out of this situation, why couldn't it work on the other end?
Yep.
Where you just constantly tell yourself, I got this. I'm powerful, right? I can do this. I'm a true masculine male. I can handle any situation. And
Exactly.
you did, right?
Yep.
So thanks for sharing that. It's great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And little trick, before I go on any podcast, or before I even talk with you guys tonight, I was like, this is gonna be a great podcast. This is gonna be a great talk. I'm very confident. I love to speak, fluently. Yeah. And I just tell myself all these good things before I get on the, because it's so important. I just do that all the time now. And I completely agree. We can actually create the things that we tell ourselves. And I think that's the most powerful thing, right? Because a lot of these reoccurring negative thoughts that we get in our heads is really didn't come from us. It's things that we heard from other people, right? Like, money doesn't grow on trees, or all people who have a lot of money are wealthy, or healthy food doesn't taste good, or something like that, or it's too expensive, or there's so many like negative beliefs that we have from other people, or all men are evil, all women are evil. How many times have we heard these kinds of things? And it does have an effect on our brains, and oftentimes maybe from the TV shows, it doesn't matter if it's a fiction or reality, right? It could be the TV shows, it could be the songs you're listening to, it could be the podcast, the things that we're listening to, or even just something that you're driving through town, and you see something like on the side, or you don't even see it, but your subconscious picks up on it. You know, these things are all influencing us. And that's why I think it's so important that people understand how the subconscious mind works, because, you know, obviously we can't protect ourselves from every single thing that's out there, but we can do what we can to make it so that the things that are most positive or the most familiar in our lives are the positive things, that we're drawn towards, you know, the positive things, because, you know, nature always goes down the path of least resistance, and we got to make, it's our job consciously to make that path of least resistance towards something that's good in life, instead of something that, you know, is like diseased, obesity, depression, you know, nihilism, whatever.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yeah, and I mean, I think another important point about that with the words is we'll attach an emotion to it, right? So when somebody has like a certain word, it has a negative emotion, right? If they just just replace it with a positive word, right? So then all of a sudden you're starting to not only just say the word, but the emotion that goes with that energy that comes into you. Like, okay, you're not wanting to get up in front of people, but I'm empowered. I'm empowered. Just say the word, right? It has a different feeling, right? When you say empowered, or if you say I'm scared. I'm scared. I gotta get here and talk to these people, but change it to empowered, and just right away, I feel it as soon as I say it, right? Empowered is a great word, but just when people start to understand that there are emotions attached to certain words that maybe you did say, you heard your parents say, or your tribe that they used to say, and you do need to change it now. If you want to get in a better tribe, or you want to start making small changes, you do have to change your language. I think that's important.
Yeah. But you talk about emotions. If I can just quickly jump in, there's emotions attached to the alcohol that you're drinking. There's emotions attached to the gambling, the smoking, the casual sex. There's an attachment to all of it. So yeah, a good way to start is through the words. But then you look at am I stressed? So I'm going to drink alcohol. I'm going to drink coffee to help sedate my pain. Oh, you know, one cup in the morning. Oh, you hear people say, oh, I've got to have my coffee this morning, or I won't survive. You know, like, yeah, there's emotional attachments to the chemicals that we're also putting into our body as well. Yeah. Especially when you're sad and stressed. Like, what do people do when they're sad and stressed? Like, they see those movies, Bad Mums and Bad Grandpa and all that. Sad and stressed, finish your week. What do? They just go and party.
Yep.
Carry on like children.
Yep.
You know,
it's so true.
Yeah, they're literally programming us to be adult children, so we don't take that rite of passage from child to adult. Through those movies. And then back onto those emotional attachments. It's like, well, if I'm stressed and lonely and all those things, well, I'm going to go and eat that. Well, I'm not going to go and eat that chocolate bar, but people are.
Yeah, the emotions are very important, because
conscious awareness. Just become consciously aware before you go and drink that cup of coffee or you have that beer. Like, how are you currently feeling? And what are you trying to get from that you can't get from yourself in terms of love or self-love, you know?
Yeah.
Once we become consciously aware of why they're doing it, then they can unconsciously reprogram from that, I reckon.
Yep.
That's what I believe.
Exactly. And those emotions are so impactful to us, right? Because, you know, the subconscious mind is very impacted by this emotions. You know, that's why if someone goes through a very emotional period, like they get raped, or they get, you know, molested, or they get, you know, attacked or something like that, that's usually stuck in their mind, and they have that reoccurring thought come back over and over, because that emotion is so powerful. You know, that's the same kind of thing when people hit the rock bottom. Like, you know, a lot of us coaches have hit that rock bottom point where we're like, all right, we got to make a change, because we felt that emotion so hard. It was so hard not to feel it, that it made those changes that allowed us to help move forward. So, you know, it's important when we're using like affirmations or words like that to actually use those emotions to our advantage, like Bryce was talking about.
Yep.
And another thing is too, I mean, this stuff that we talk about, like, people will shy away from things where they think it's work, right? It's too much work. But that's where the payoff comes, right? It's not supposed to be easy. Easy is coming home, sitting on the couch, cracking that beer, and then watching 19 episodes of one show, right? That's easy. The hard thing to do is to say, I'm not going to sit on the couch. I'm not going to crack that beer. I'm going to go down and do a quick 30-minute strength workout. And then I'm going to take my shower and go to bed. That's work, right? That's what people need to get into their mind, is that work is okay, right? When we're putting in the work, that's okay. It's okay for it to be a little bit hard to think about doing once, because I used to do that when I'd be like, I should work out. I'd always use those terms. I should. I should be doing that. I should be. I could do that. I could do it. I should do it. Right? Instead of now, it's a plan is like, okay, I know ahead of time when I come home, I know on a day when I have time, I'm going to do it. Right. And then I execute it. And then so my mind is like, yes, we're progressing. Right. And I don't view it as work now. Right.
Yeah. And I think it's important.
What you do. Yeah.
I think it's important to note, like it may up front, it might be a little more work, but in the end, it becomes easy. It makes your life easier. Right.
It does.
Because like if it's, and I think it's like really the difference between short-term and long-term thinking. And a lot of that short-term thinking comes from our subconscious mind, where we just want the instant gratification. We want the beer. We want the dopamine fix. We want to relax and, get in front of the TV and just zonk out and not even think about anything, just focus on the TV. And if we put in that work now, we won't end up depressed and obese and, with all these back pains, like I know so many people talk about when they get older, like all these pains. And, I know me and Bryce were talking about when he was on my podcast that like, he doesn't have those pains like a lot of people. And, it's like even people my age or like younger, like I heard this 18-year-old the other day, like, oh, I'm getting old. It's like, you're 18 years old. And she's complaining about back pains and things like that. It's like, it's just so programmed in our society that like when you get old, you have back pains. That's like just one way, the words can be powerful, and you literally creating that for yourself, right? Like telling yourself you have pains, that you're getting old. Like,
well, they've probably heard it as a child, so they probably heard their grandparents and their parents say it.
I mean, and
so what are they going to do when they're older?
And like any place you work in, like a job, you're going to hear it usually most of the time, like especially like when I work at Wells Fargo, like all the people in there drink all their coffee. They all talk about getting old, about, this weekend was too short. I want to go, look for that. The next weekend, I can't wait till the next weekend. No, it's Monday already. I got to have my coffee to wake up, and like they're literally telling themselves they have to have these things, and that the weekend's too short. Like they're creating that weekend to be shorter for themselves by telling themselves that.
And like when people wake up, that those commercials on TV, and they show the coffee, they show the people like they can't parent, they can't do anything, they're bumping into walls, right? Unless they have their coffee. I mean, what a crock of shit, right? Really. And get up and do like 10 push-ups and see how your body feels as far as how it feels awake, right?
Or try and touch your toes.
Yeah, like
people can't touch their toes.
Nope.
Yeah, if you did a 10-minute stretch when you got out of bed, you're going to have that same feeling as as you would if you chug a big thing of coffee, right? Without the ill effects of it, right? I think a lot of people's pain that they have comes from the coffee.
Oh, I agree.
And we probably read that book, right, with Stephen Chernurski.
Yeah, absolutely. Recommend it just before I came on here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different perspective, and when people start to open up their mind to more of that growth mindset, to be like, you know what, everything I have been told has been stuff I've been told. I haven't looked into anything. So you start to look into stuff, you start to read a book like that, you start to see the possibilities, and then you start to dabble in, giving up these distractions. And for men specifically, giving up the coffee and the alcohol and the vaping and the porn and the weed, they're all distractions to distract you from your true purpose, right?
Correct.
And I find it exciting to be like, what will happen if I stop this stuff? Maybe something will happen, right? And I can be a true testament to that stuff does happen when you give it up, right? Clarity.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm feeling it and living it too, mate.
Nice.
Yeah.
I gave up the alcohol, right? So I was drinking with a group of buddies that I went to school with, that's just what we did. Well, I give that up and I meet some pretty incredible people. And there's two of you right here, right now as well. It's like the people you meet when you give up something as well. It's not just, that's something cool that happens for me. It's like I gave up the alcohol and I've met this whole new tribe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true, right? And it's just
two
getting out
more
of
right
that,
here.
getting out of that vibration of like, yeah, like we talk about, maybe you grew up with parents who drank, and their parents came over, and then the holidays, and you go to a party and the first thing someone says is, what do you want to drink?
Correct.
Like, do you have any water? Like, my body, I need a few more. I got to drink half my body weight in ounces a day, so I need a little more.
Yeah.
I think just interrupting the norm is what we're trying to do. We're trying to interrupt those norms that are even being placed for us, right? They're being placed there through movies, through broadcasting, or spelling, right? They're being tricked. We're being tricked to do things that we don't want to do, and we're being held back in the power that we have in our own consciousness. Yeah,
we definitely are.
Yep. Yeah, because I think it's pretty important to note that, like, I think we were kind of mentioned this already, like we were all born with everything that we need, right? Like when we're babies, we know we deserve love, we know we deserve to have certain things.
I agree.
But when we become adults, once we get all that programming as we go through life as children, we get told, that's too expensive. We can't have that. You can't do this thing. You're not good enough. Oh, you're not as good as your brother. Oh, you're not good at public speaking. You probably shouldn't just try that. Oh, you shouldn't wear this kind of swimsuit that makes you look fat or something like that, right? For all the girls out there. Like you can't wear a two-piece, you have to wear a one-piece, right? And like we take these things and take them on as like associations and like identities for ourselves. I know something that's me and Bryce talked about, like the identity that you hold on to yourself. And I thought that was really interesting how, like, how are you identifying yourself, like in the ways that you're speaking and the way you're thinking about things. So like what me and Bryce were talking about was like quitting out smoking cigarettes, right? When someone is trying to quit smoking cigarettes, do they say, oh, I'm trying to not smoke cigarettes anymore? But if you say, I'm trying not to smoke cigarettes anymore, you're pretty much implying that you're still a smoker and you're trying
Pretty
not
much.
to do it. But if you say, I don't smoke cigarettes, like that's someone who doesn't smoke cigarettes would say, right? So like changing the identities that we hold on, and so many people just don't. We have so many different identities we hold on to, but we don't really. A lot of us don't really know like those, like what those identities are. If
The identity
if we
is
took some
just be
time to look,
you.
exactly.
The identity is just be you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know what or how to be themselves.
100%.
Once you find out how to be yourself, my goodness gracious.
Yeah. There's a lot of power in that, and I think that's what the human farmers don't want us to do, right? They don't want us to. They want to modify our behavior and sedate us so that we don't find that purpose, and we don't realize that we can be a service to other people, like we're doing right now, right? Breaking free, right? Like we say, freedom from self-sabotage, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to give you that freedom, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my podcast is called Breaking Free, so thanks for the plug.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It's good.
Yeah, so important. And I think all the things we've talked about today are really crucial to overcoming self-sabotage, and really important to address. And I think, even if like anyone who's listening to this just took like one of the things that we're talking about today and started applying it to their lives, they start to see like an increase in like just productivity and maybe like happiness and maybe some health. If you just start to apply these things slowly, and if you feel like you can do it, you can do it more. But and if you do experience something where you kind of go back, you experience some self-sabotage, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up, don't attack yourself, because that's a very common form of self-sabotage, right? Nathan, where you attack yourself just because you did something wrong. And I think it's such a hard, I mean, it can be a hard thing to get past, and because that's what your programming is, that's what everyone else does, right? But once you can break free from that, you'll start to notice that things become a lot easier. You start to have a new normal.
New normal.
New normal. What?
Oh yeah,
that's two terms today we use. See, but what we're doing, we're interrupting that process, because we know we use those two terms and we poked fun at it, right? So our subconscious is like, yeah, that's silly. We're not going to do that.
I didn't realize I did that, but yeah, that's awesome. Probably that program is like, oh yeah, new normal. Yeah, that'd be really good to say right now.
I'm just waiting for you to build back better.
Well, we could start right now. We could build our our lives back better, stronger. We can build ourselves, much better just by, implementing some of these things into our life. And,
Yeah.
there's really no excuses. Like,
Nah.
it's really easy. You don't have to go out and buy anything. You can just start right now, sitting in your room alone, just by
That's what I do.
talking to yourself and
Yeah.
analyzing. And yeah, Nathan just sits in the dark.
That's what I do. Just sit in the dark and stretch and just talk to myself, just, I sit there and I just stretch and I just release whatever I had inside that day. It's like if there's a bit of fear there or well, there's some stuff I'm currently releasing from just listening to you boys talk that was very relevant to stuff I was going through the last few days. So I'll sit in my room tonight and just release that fear and just start being more authentically me. That's
awesome. I love that. More people need to do that instead of, when people feel a little bit of pain or they feel disappointment or any of those negative things, they go right to like we said, they attach the things to it that they need. Oh, I'm gonna crack a beer.
Yep.
I had a hard day.
Yep.
Right. Whereas if they just sat with it and really connected with, okay, I feel I had a bad day, they start to feel, and all of a sudden they start to get these feelings of like, it wasn't so bad. Like I'm here, right? Tomorrow is another day. And then they can start to sort of turn it around and you come out on the other end with a positive emotion instead of being, 6 beers in and 4 hours later and you accomplished nothing. Right.
Oh yeah. I think that's something that's important to address because like there were so many times when I got high or got drunk. I told myself I was going to do something that night and then I just got high and drunk and like, no, I can't do that anymore. I'm too high. I'm too drunk. That'll be something for tomorrow. And then I would never do it because I'd get high and drunk again. Pushing it off.
Procrastination is classic. Yeah.
That's another form that might be covered procrastination part 2.
Stay tuned for part 2.
Definitely stay tuned for part 2. We got some more great, amazing talks. And then part 3 will have us all back and we'll do some solutions. And that one will be really fun and interesting to see with all the different coaches there. So
if that as just a final word from me, just to skip in. I don't know whether we're going to wrap it up, are we, or we might wrap it up.
I'm thinking probably wrap it up.
Yeah. Just a final word from me, and I'll always say it, and I'll say it again: reach out for help. If any of that resonated with you, we've all lived that life that you're currently living. We've all been stuck where you're currently stuck. I've gone back a couple of steps in my self-sabotage over the last few weeks, and I didn't beat up on myself. It was just some more lessons to learn, some more fear, some more stuff that had come up for me. And what you boys spoke about was what I was currently sitting in for just for a little bit. That I wasn't expressing my authentic self. I sort of hid again, just what you boys spoke about really, really resonated with me. And if any of that resonated with any of you out there, our details will be in the box below, and just reach out because we have been there.
We're here to help.
Exactly. Sure. Us reaching out for help was just, not to speak for everyone, but I'm sure it's true. Us reaching out for help was probably like a very integral part of just us moving forward in life. Because like if I didn't reach out and start getting some more of this information, I probably wouldn't have moved forward as fast in life, or maybe even at all.
You can't do all this on your own. Well, you can, but it will be a very, very long and painful journey. Just let some help in, get some guidance, get some clarity.
Yep,
that's all I've got to say.
Great words to end it for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening, and make sure you guys like and subscribe. Leave a comment for us. We'd love to all respond to whatever comment you guys have. And all have a fantastic day or night wherever you guys are listening. Thanks, guys.
Great stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.